Okay, this camera right here is pretty much the most hyped camera on the entire internet right now. TikTok made this one famous, and now it's hard to even get your hands on it. And I want to give you the reasons why there's so much hype around this camera. So this is the Fuji X100VI. This camera line, actually the Fuji X100 came out in 2010. And this is the 6th version of this camera. And they have been slowly but surely improving this camera throughout the years since 2010. The X100VI came out in February of this year. Just to give you guys a little backstory as to how bad it is to get your hands on this camera. Literally, there's people that have placed their pre-order February of this year and they're still waiting to get their damn camera. So it's crazy. Luckily, I was able to snag one of these pups off Facebook Marketplace, brand new, never opened. And I've had it for a week. And it's a phenomenal camera. The video, the picture, coming from my big boy camera. This is my EDC, everyday carry camera. Something you just take with you everywhere. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I mean, I have my phone. This, honestly, in my opinion, is pretty much the best camera for somebody that's on the fence about, I want to upgrade from my phone camera to an actual camera. I would highly suggest something like this for, you know, somebody that's new to photography, or even a seasoned pro can create art with this freaking camera right here. It is an absolute animal of a camera. So I'm gonna give you guys 3 reasons as to why this camera is so hyped, why people love this damn camera so much, what makes it so good, and is it actually worth waiting for one or paying a little bit more to just go ahead and snag one up. So let's dive right in. The first reason as to why I really love this camera so much is the size, guys. The size of this little camera is small but mighty. It is a very compact little camera that you can literally take anywhere. And that's the whole purpose and ethos behind this camera. In my eyes, is you can take it anywhere with you. Like, there's no reason you shouldn't be taking this thing with you because it's so small, it's so inconspicuous. And you know, depending on what type of shooting you like to do, personally, I like just documenting life. I like to travel. And as of recently, since getting this camera, I've been shooting like street photography and just getting some banger shots, going to car meets and just getting, you know, shots of people, getting just crazy, different, unique angles that I definitely wouldn't have thought of with my big A7 IV. You know, because when you're shooting street photography, the camera size definitely does matter, because if you're trying to be inconspicuous, having a huge Canon, having a huge Sony or Nikon draws a lot of attention. So this little pup right here, people barely notice it. And when they do notice it, they often are like, oh, that's a nice camera. Like, it's not like, it doesn't draw a lot of attention, which is good if you're trying to be incognito, if you know what I mean. So that's one major reason as to why I love this camera, is the size of it. It is a very small package. The weight of it feels really good. It feels like a very, you know, dense premium product. Like, it's gonna last a while. And I opted obviously for the silver version. The silver version I think looks way better than the black one. It's very smooth. So the second reason as to why this camera is absolutely amazing is because of the specs. Now, this isn't a super technical, detailed review. You're gonna have to watch somebody else's video for that. But I can tell you, this thing packs a punch. So it has a 40 megapixel APS-C sensor with a 35mm equivalent lens on it. Going into this, buying this camera and not, you know, having experienced any previous version of this camera, I was like, man, it's gonna, you know, the quality is gonna be diminished compared to my A7 IV. But I must admit, guys, the quality is up there. This little camera is very sharp. That caught me by surprise. I'm not gonna lie, how clean the pictures come out. The quality of the sensor is amazing. The quality of the glass is really good. So no complaints in terms of image quality. It is absolutely on par with this is a premium camera for sure. So with video in mind, this thing can shoot 6.2K in 10-bit video in F-Log 2. So if you don't know what any of that I just said means, basically the video quality is phenomenal. And you can shoot in basically raw video. So if you're new to photography, hello. Like you can shoot in JPEG, you can shoot in RAW, and this thing actually shoots in HEIF, H-E-I-F, the newest like format, more color depth. Long story short, shooting in F-Log2 in video allows you to then in post-processing color your video and have fun with LUTs and be able to really tweak your colors like you would a raw file for your photo. So that is really phenomenal that this thing has that capability and shoots at 6.2K, 30 frames a second, quality video, quality photos through and through. Another spec that I really did love about this camera is that little guy right there, that little flash. I didn't know how much I would love having flash built into a camera, but this thing comes in handy because it gives you those like nostalgic photos. You remember the old cameras you would buy from like Walmart that were the disposable cameras? This gives me that feel whenever I use the flash. Like it's so just nostalgic, and having a flash built in, not having to carry an external flash, it's just an added bonus, like a huge one up. Like you don't have to think about, oh wait, I gotta get my flash. You know, it's all built in. All built into this little camera. So you can buy the previous version, but when they upgraded to the 6, what they added was one, a way better sensor, a better processor, and then IBIS, so image stabilization. So this thing has a stabilizer in there that stabilizes the image. So you can not only get super stable video, but you can also go really low on your shutter speed and still have a nice clean photo. Like if you're shooting at night, maybe you gotta open the shutter for like a second. If you're stable enough, you can get shots up to a second. I haven't done too much night photography with this thing, but that's a huge benefit, having IBIS. Another legendary spec that this camera has is an internal ND filter. So if you don't know what an ND filter is, it is a neutral density filter that goes basically over top of your lens. Usually you gotta screw them on and then screw them off when you're not using them. But basically it's like sunglasses for your camera. And this thing has one built in to the camera that you can literally flick on and off, which I will show you if you don't believe me. So you can see the lens and it's gonna go black. I'm gonna turn on the ND filter. Boom. ND filter activated. So it has a built-in ND filter, which you can turn on and off. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head how dark it is, but it's dark enough to shoot outdoors. So when shooting video in F-Log2, the base ISO is 1000. So that comes in clutch because usually your shot's gonna be overexposed. So when you can just flick on an ND filter like that, you don't ever have to think about screwing one on and it's always on you. It's just another huge benefit. Like, come on, like that is just, that's really good. Now the last spec that I genuinely love, and I know we've been on the spec section for a while, but it's packed with so many features. And these are the features that are standing out to me the most as of right now, but it has to be the film simulation. Now, if you guys are new to Fuji, Fuji's in a very unique position because they're a camera company that not only makes camera bodies, they make camera lenses, but they used to make film. So back in the film days when you used to have to develop film and, you know, use actual film to take a photo, they made film. Fujifilm made film. So they use all that IP, all that intellectual property, hired some crazy color scientists, and they recreated those films that they used to make. And they made them digital. So now you can go in here and I believe it's like 20 film simulations that you can play around with. And then what's even better is you can customize your film simulation. So this has 7 different slots in which you can play around and save your film simulations. And when you're actually shooting in RAW, it's really cool because you can see on the display what, you know, if you are in a certain film simulation, you can see it on the actual screen. So when you're actually taking pictures and composing the picture, it's shot as the film simulation. But like I said, you're shooting in RAW. So let's say later down the line, you want to change the colors up a little bit. You still have the RAW image, which has all the color information, everything you need to be able to change it later in post. So it's a win-win. It is a win-win. in that department. And you really gotta think about that too, because you know, one of the biggest things with photography is editing. You can obviously take really good photos, but what turns a good photo into a great photo is editing. And when you have colors like this out of camera that just are so amazing. These colors that you have just straight out of camera are phenomenal. Then you add your film simulation on top of that. 9 times out of 10, guys, I just use the photo as is. Like, I'm not even editing the picture. Maybe I'll just tweak like the exposure slider, shadows, highlights, call it a day. So it makes editing a breeze, and that is a huge win. If you're just trying to document life and, you know, just enjoy photography again, because it can get a little much at times. So this just brings like a whole new dimension back to photography that I'm really loving. And then the last reason as to why I really love this camera is the styling of it. The styling of this camera is phenomenal. It is a very retro inspired design, and one that will last through time. You know, I think 10-20 years from now, this camera is gonna still look phenomenal. And they did a really good job with the design, and it hasn't really changed since the first one. So kudos to them for not changing it up. You know, this is a design that's tried and true that works. And actually, fun tip, fun fact, if you look at the Apple emoji of a camera, that's it. You know, I just realized that when I was using emojis, I was like, oh shit, that's the camera emoji. So this camera is actually the emoji for a camera, which is interesting. Speaking of style and design, they thought of this camera very well. You have all your dials that you need to adjust your exposure triangle. So the front dial where my thumb is, I use that for shutter speed. My pointer finger on the back, I use that for the ISO. And then you have a built-in aperture ring built onto the lens. Like they really thought of it all. And then let's say you shoot in auto ISO, you have your EV comp right here on the top, just a nice dial right there. Everything feels really tactile, really well made. You have some custom buttons. You have a custom button on top, which is what I use for my flash. So if I click that button, the flash will come on. And then you have a nice rocker up here that you can program to do whatever you want. I have it set to the ND filter. So yeah, this is a phenomenal little camera, I must admit. And then also, if you are not familiar, let's say like Leicas, the nicer Leicas, those are rangefinders. So you get the best of both worlds with this camera, because you can not only shoot it as a rangefinder, you can shoot it optically and electronically, and then you can kind of actually do a little bit of both. So when you're shooting optically, you actually are seeing straight through. It's just glass right there. So you're seeing exactly what the scene looks like in real life. But there's a twist, because while you're seeing that, it's like a heads-up display in a car. That's what you see inside, and it tells you all your settings. It tells you your shutter speed, your aperture, all that good stuff. So it's pretty cool. And then if you don't want all that, if you want to just rock it like an electronic viewfinder, you can just flip the switch, that goes down, and then it's straight a screen in there. So it's literally the best of both worlds. Like, you're getting so much, I would say, value with this package right here. This little package right here. Phenomenal little camera, guys. Absolute beast of a camera. So in conclusion, I would definitely recommend this camera to anybody that is looking for possibly making that leap, or if you're a photographer, you're in the industry, you're used to carrying around your big boy cameras with the big lenses. This is the perfect companion for a pro photographer just looking to capture life, you know, capture family moments, capture times out being with friends, capture just whatever. You know, it's so portable, it's so small that you're able to just take it with you everywhere. And that's what I really love about this camera, is it's capturing moments I probably wouldn't have been able to capture if I didn't have it. Now, lastly, the one thing I do wish they would improve upon is the battery life. The battery life on this camera isn't the best. It, you know, depending on what you're shooting or how you're shooting, if you're out, you know, crazy photos, taking photos a lot, throwing some videos in the mix, you're gonna drain through that battery. So I highly recommend getting extra batteries. These are the ones that I got. I'll leave this in the description, but I opted to get the genuine batteries, and this is like an AirPod case. It doesn't charge it, so you have to still plug this in to USB-C to actually charge the batteries while they're in there. But it tells you what your battery life is with the batteries in there. And then a double bonus is there is space for your SD cards. So you can have one SD card, one SD card. So I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, this is super small. You just slip this in your pocket. You have your camera with you. You have plenty of battery and storage to be able to shoot a full day with a setup like this. So highly recommend, if you're getting this camera, get something like this, because you're gonna eat. The battery life isn't the best on the camera. But that's literally like the only gripe I've had with this camera is the battery life. So hopefully you guys liked this video. This was the Fuji X100VI. This was my 1 week review. So I'm gonna be doing another review once I have this camera a little longer. But it's been a week and it's been a fun week, I must admit, using this camera. So I'll be posting more videos about this camera because I feel it's gonna attract an audience that is new to photography. I'm gonna be doing a video about how I have this thing set up that is in the works. So yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.